let's do this. I'm posting on Twitter. I still call it Twitter. I really don't like the change to X.
It's like muscle memory at this point.
And it's been so many years, but I can't get behind X. I'm sorry. I say it, I guess, but and also like posts on X, Twitter was just so much better. Hello, happy Thursday. Welcome in to Scrolling with Hayley. I'm Hayley Panetierre. I said on Tuesday's show, after reporting on former child star Hayden Panetierre's apparent overdose death, that we would be getting more information in the coming days. And boy, is there a doozy of an update regarding that erratic on and off boyfriend of hers. And then Jason Kelce is part of a new ad campaign urging people to piss in a mug and send it to their nearest data center in a form of protest. Plus, a man told ChatGPT all about his plans to rape and kill his ex-girlfriend, and then Chat turned him into the FBI. All that and so much more coming up on today's episode. But first, subscribe to this show. Subscribe to this channel, the Bongino Report channel on Rumble. That's where you can watch Vince at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, myself at noon Eastern Time, and Sean at 1 Eastern Time, right here on the Bongino Report channel. Of course, you can catch Dan at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on rumble.com/Bongino. You can watch this show whenever you want on Rumble or YouTube. The Spotify episode is available right after this live show is over, or you can listen on your favorite podcast platform whenever you want. Listen, watch, however, whenever. All I ask is that you tell someone new about this show today, and of course, support our wonderful sponsors like Chef Man. Have you ever looked at a frozen drink machine and thought, wow, that's way too expensive? Or maybe you've tried one that felt a little more like a seasonal gadget than a real appliance. That's why I was genuinely impressed with the Chef Man Slush Ease Max. Honestly, I was surprised by how much this feels like a premium frozen drink machine, but without that premium price tag. It makes commercial-style slushies right on your countertop. And the best part is, and this is my favorite part because my ice machine is still broken, you don't need ice to make your slushies. It has a built-in freezing system, so you just pour in your ingredients and let it do the work. I also saw, this is so out of, like off topic, but I saw a TikTok of this woman who is getting a colonoscopy, and she made her like poop slushy in a slushy machine. I don't know if it was a Chef Man exactly, but she said it was the best way to take that stuff. She turned it into a frozen slushy drink. I'm sure Chef Man will be thrilled with this ad. Anyway, you can make whatever you want in your Slushies Max. It's a 90-ounce capacity, so you can make whatever you want for all of your friends and family, backyard get-togethers, whatever you want. And what I really like is that it's not just a novelty appliance. It's something you can use all year round, whether you're getting a colonoscopy or you just, it's the weekend and you want to make frosé. That's what I'm going to be making this weekend. So if you've been thinking about getting a frozen drink machine, I think you'll be impressed with the Chef Man Slushies Max. And right now you can save 25% off with my code SCROLL. Visit chefman.com and use promo code SCROLL. Again, that is chefman.com, promo code SCROLL. Put those phones on Do Not Disturb. The show starts now. So I reported earlier in the week that former child star Hayden Panetierre died on Sunday at the age of 36. She died of cardiac arrest and suffered a suspected drug overdose. And the autopsy report results, or at least the preliminary ones, say there was no trauma. But the DEA is joining the investigation to get to the bottom of what happened to the Heroes Nashville and Bring It On star. And I detailed earlier how Hollywood stripped Hayden and other child stars, of course, of their childhoods. They were forced to become adults as children. They were subjected to sexual content, sexual abuse, as well as forced to take drugs to keep them working as much as possible. Hollywood is a demonic industry, and I don't use that word lightly. There is something very sinister and evil going on in Hollywood. We all know this. The demonic imagery is everywhere. It's in the music videos, it's in the costumes, it's in the lyrics. The satanic nature of the industry is apparent in all of that, but more so in the very real stories of the mistreatment of children. And Hayden was given drugs from Mexico as a teenager that sent her on a pathway to addiction that ultimately ruined and ended her life. And it took her away from her daughter, her family, her career. Very sad. And she was found unresponsive in an apartment complex in Greenville, South Carolina on Sunday. And that apartment had been said to have been owned by her longtime boyfriend, Brian Hickerson and his brother. Again, Narcan was found on the bed. It either wasn't administered in time or at all, or it wasn't enough to save the star. We also know that the boyfriend and brother were at the apartment at the time of Hayden's death. Hayden had detailed how abusive her relationship with Brian was in her memoir that came out not too long before her death. She detailed him slapping her, punching her, and leaving her so bruised that she couldn't leave the house. And if you hadn't seen my show from earlier in the week, I want you all to see, because there's some updates with this boyfriend. But TMZ did an interview with said boyfriend, Brian Hickerson, after the memoir came out, and he was smiling, recalling the abuse he put Hayden through. Watch.
Have you read Hayden's book? So what did you think?
Hayden's book's incredible.
Despite some of the, kind of rehashing some of the things that happened between you guys, you still thought it was good?
No, I think it's great. I think everyone should read it. I mean, the domestic violence stuff that I think is like 272, page 272, my chapter. Everybody should read it. Yeah.
How was it for you reading that?
But I mean, it was, who wants to read something about themselves like that, right? But, you got to be vulnerable. And, I did it. So,
Ugh.
Was there anything before that you asked Hayden to keep out of the book?
Yeah.
What did you not want her to talk about in the book?
So there's a story where I was drunk, right? Hayden was standing across the room, and I had a phone in my hand, and I said, Hayden, I'll give you 10 seconds to run as fast as you can before I throw it at you.
Yeah, that would be very tough to read about yourself, but also would be a horrific situation to be in as well.
Of course.
Do you think this is an important chapter for not just survivors to read, but also for people that
Anyway, you get the point that this guy is a POS. And you can tell that the woman interviewing him knows that this interview is not going well. He is a piece of you-know-what. And he doesn't even really want to be there. And the fact that he's answering these questions in this smug manner, like, you threatened her life and you were threatening to abuse her physically. And you did. He went to jail for this, by the way, abusing her physically. So again, coming off as like, yeah, you should read my chapter. It's on page 272. Like, he's such a narcissist. The fact that he knows the page, his chapter, it's like, do you want to read about how much of an asshole I am? Here it is.
Yeah, what guy is like, hey, read my chapter? It kind of talks about how awful I am. You'll really appreciate it. It's a good what not to do. It's my chapter, by the way.
You can tell that he's just a narcissist. He's an attention, seeker. And this is where the new information now comes in. Based on Hayden's memoir, we know that their neighbors would hear them fighting and call the police. So TMZ started digging and found this. They talked to one of their former neighbors. This is the headline. Hayden Panetierre's neighbor: we were warned to call 911 if we saw Brian Hickerson. Hayden Panetierre's neighbors were once warned to call 911 immediately if they spotted Brian Hickerson on their property, and TMZ learned of a warning poster with his photo that went up after a string of complaints about his alleged behavior. So, can you bring up the photo of the
wanted poster?
The wanted poster? Do you have that?
Let me see what I can do.
See if you could pull it up, because it's in that TMZ article. But it basically it has photos of him. You can clearly see that it's him. And it says, like, this is a dangerous person. So apparently Hayden's old condo in West Hollywood, it was the HOA that put up those posters and alerted neighbors to call the police if they even saw Brian Hickerson on the property. He was known to loiter around, show up uninvited. He wasn't an official resident. He would visit Hayden while she lived there. But think of how many instances there must have been that the neighbors were urged to call emergency services if he was even seen around the property. That means he was a disturbance. People were fearful of him. I'm sure Hayden was fearful of him. Although I'm sure she was in love with him, this is a very toxic domestic abuse situation. They were probably very annoyed at the noise that would probably ensue after the fights that broke out between the two. And this was after, by the way, Brian had been arrested in 2020 for punching Hayden in the face. And so TMZ spoke to one of the neighbors who also spoke to Inside Edition. She said she was terrified of Brian and what he was capable of. For a neighbor to be terrified of him, again, what does that say about this guy? And I'm sure you can all tell from that interview that he certainly sounds like he is, certainly sounds like he's on drugs, certainly sounds like he's drunk. And he's even talking about the fact that he was so drunk, and clearly nothing has changed. So this is what it says. Warning to all residents and guests of the Hancock condominiums, this individual has been seen trespassing in the common areas and hallways at blah, blah, blah. I think it already says the the condominiums, but I don't know why that's blurred. Maybe it's a specific apartment building or something. Please do not grant him access to the building. If he is seen anywhere on this property, please call 911 immediately and report that he is trespassing on the premises. So those are photos of him. The backwards hat, that's him. And someone in the chat said, sounds like he's pleased with himself. I mean, he really is such a narcissist and a disgusting human being.
Gross interview. Just gross.
Gross. So the HOA put those flyers up, and then all of a sudden the flyers apparently came down a few days later. And the neighbor that spoke to TMZ and Inside Edition said that she was told that Brian was no longer a threat. Clearly, he is a threat. Now, we know that Hayden passed away, and she was in the presence of that man and his brother. Clearly, not enough was done to save her. Not enough was done to save her in time. I don't know what they did or didn't do. Like I said, Narcan was on the bed. I guess they didn't get it to her in time, or maybe it wasn't enough. I don't know. Maybe they were all doing drugs or drunk together and they weren't in the right mind to save her. I don't know. There was also a TMZ report that when the authorities arrived on the scene, the boyfriend was very emotional. So again, was he on some kind of a substance? Seems to me like that could possibly be the case. And Hayden lost her brother tragically a few years ago, and she had a very complicated and toxic relationship with her family. Her friends, I'm sure, were other people in Hollywood in their own toxic relationships. It makes me very sad to think that she didn't have anyone to tell her to get away from this man, even after he hurt her physically. And you could tell that she wanted to get better. She wanted to get clean, and she just couldn't. It was an addiction that was unfortunately thrust upon her, not by her own choice, but by managers and agents and whoever else in Hollywood was handing her pills at a very young age. I hope she gets justice. Speaking of justice, abuse, violence, the Lindsay Clancy case has taken the internet by storm. I think we're on day 17 or 18 of the trial at this point, and I asked my audience on Instagram whether or not I should cover this case in depth, and the response was about 66% in favor of me covering it. And I was thinking about it, and while more people wanted me to cover it than not, I felt like 34% of the respondents is a lot of people that wouldn't be excited to tune into this. So I'll be honest. Also, someone in the chat said, no, don't cover that. You'll be just like Candace Owens, which really turned me off from covering this anyway. Maybe that person's new here. Maybe they don't know me that well. But being compared to that woman simply for wanting to cover a case that's getting a lot of attention online is disturbing and also insulting. It also makes me angry that Candace Owens has ruined this space. She has ruined discourse. She has ruined debate. She has sown division in a once unified party. She has made it impossible for other people in the media to do their jobs. The media is supposed to hold government to account. It is supposed to expose corruption. It is supposed to inform. And we used to be able to ask questions. That's what journalism is. But now asking questions has become synonymous with Candace Owens' retardation, where she's just asking questions and it's the most far-fetched theory known to man. Candace Owens has turned asking questions into this meme. Now nobody can ask questions, even if they're educated questions based on the trial. And now consumers of media don't even trust the good people in the media and in the industry. even the ones that have studied journalism and have learned from some of the best journalists and producers in the industry. So thank you, Candace. And by that, I mean F you, Candace. So that's where I stand on that. I will not be covering the trial in depth as I said I was. Again, we're days into this trial as it is. I would have to do so much backlog research on this. And if people aren't super into it anyway, and if I'm going to be accused of being Candace Owens, then it is not worth it. But everyone's still talking about the case. You know, I'm scrolling on X and this is still a topic of conversation among conservative influencers and podcasters. And TikTokers, men and women, by the way, not just women, are questioning what's really going on in this case. Because Lindsay Clancy, by the way, is not on trial to find out who done it. That's not what's being litigated here. She's on trial to determine her future, whether or not she's going to live out the rest of her sentence in jail or in a psychiatric facility. But again, more than 2 weeks into this trial, we've heard testimonies from her husband and nurses and family members, and people on the internet are genuinely piecing together inconsistencies and oddities pertaining to Patrick Clancy's testimony and in other testimonies. And again, I'll be accused of being a psychopath if I tell you what those are. So if you are interested, I'd urge you to look them up for yourselves. But the discourse on X among conservatives is that it's only lunatic women on TikTok who are cheering on a murderer, which isn't honestly painting a picture of the discourse on TikTok. But many of the conservatives we all follow and listen to are not digesting TikTok content like I am. They are seeing videos clipped and then posted to X. They're not really seeing that the people questioning this case are posting just real videos from the trial and exposing inconsistencies. It's not conspiratorial. And it's not this digital coven of baby sacrificing witches that they're making it out to be. And I'm saying this, by the way, as a conservative, level-headed, pro-life woman who will call out the demonic, anti-family, and pro-abortion left any chance I get. If you watch this show, you know that about me. So there's more to this discussion than what people on X who have never opened TikTok can see. But Allie Beth Stuckey posted this on X. Your wife probably shouldn't be on TikTok, which basically means if your wife is on this app that I'm too good for, she's a dumbass who will automatically fall into conspiracy traps because she can't think for herself, but I can. That's basically what she's saying that. And, you know, she thinks that if you scroll on TikTok, you'll just drink the Kool-Aid and become a liberal, which is also not true. I scroll harder on TikTok than anyone I know, and I'm more conservative than ever. I made it through college, a conservative. I made it through hours of TikTok a day, still a conservative. And this notion that people who don't use TikTok, you know, that it's just this cesspool of dumb idiot liberals, it's just not true. I get fed some stupid liberal content that I like to point and laugh at on this show, of course. But I'd say I get fed Christian content first and foremost, fashion, baking, golf, all of my interests. And then someone replied to Allie Beth saying this, couldn't be that China intentionally makes sure of the disruptive content possible is fed to Americans. China doesn't even own the app anymore. So this just goes to show you that the people are taking this, you know, out of their behinds. But this critic said this, women need to get off TikTok, but this is the problem. Women like you need to lead by example. You're not. All these women see is your hypocrisy. And she added a screen grab of Allie Beth Stuckey's TikTok account of all of these podcast clips of hers. So this is what Allie Beth said in response to that, doubling down. She said, people are having a hard time with this. So let me double down. TikTok is uniquely formulated to target women with addicting, negative, deceptive, enraging content. It's why the defend Lindsay Clancy thing has taken off. While there are exceptions, women probably shouldn't be on it. I'm thankful to have a team that posts my podcast clips there. I do think it's important to present alternate views and that I've never logged onto the app a day in my life. Really? So if she's never been on the app a day in her life, how does she know that it's negative, deceptive, and enraging? Because like I've said, I've been on this app since 2020. The app knows I'm conservative and it feeds me exactly what I like. I don't see negative, deceptive, and raging content. I see conservative trad wives. I see funny cat and dog videos. I see the White House trolling liberals. And the thing that I find most hypocritical about this double down is that Allie Beth is grateful for her team of women who log onto TikTok on Allie Beth's behalf and post her content on TikTok. Allie seems to think that these podcast clips are, going out into uncharted territory, and like the liberals on TikTok have never seen a piece of conservative content before. And her podcast clips are this necessary alternative content in this apparent cesspool of liberal BS that she wouldn't know about, but it's only because she's heard people talk about it, I guess. But here's the kicker. She says women probably shouldn't be on TikTok, but her team, probably of women, thought it would be prudent for her to be on the app because clearly conservative women are on there and are interacting with her content. So how bad could the app really be if Allie Beth's own listeners are on there? She basically just insulted her own listenership. And it is ridiculous to be on your high horse about one social media platform as if they're all not disturbing and have their own downsides, many of which are the same. But I will say, we're all on X, and we all know that X can be a cesspool too. So it's not the app that's the problem. It's the people, it's our culture, it's our society. So blaming TikTok for the downfall of the American woman is like blaming guns for killing people. It's the same argument. You can ban the app and the same slop will show up on Instagram and X and wherever else, but you can't claim to be holier than thou above this social media BS because you've decided you're too good for just one of the platforms. There are upsides and downsides to social media, all different platforms. And if she really believed what she said, she'd delete all of her accounts, but she would never do that. So that's my take on that. Boom. Mic drop.
Boom roasted.
Exactly. Next up, we have to talk about this Jason Kelce ad. He has teamed up with Garage Beer, which I've never heard of, and Liquid Death on an interesting ad campaign with an even nastier call to action. Watch this.
AI data centers waste millions of gallons of water. That's why Liquid Death and Garage Beer have decided to team up. We want your pee to cool these data centers.
We want your pee. Please give us your pee. Let's pee on computers together. 'Cause we need lots of pee. Endless gallons of pee. Join our important endeavor. We want your pee. Please give us your pee. Let's pee on computers together and save humanity. We want your pee.
With Garage Beer's classic light beer and Liquid Death sparkling energy, the light beer of energy drinks, it's never been easier to create pee.
Let's pee on computers together and save humanity.
So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and have another Garage Beer or Liquid Death sparkling energy. Then send your pee to the AI data center of your choice. We even make it easy with these collectible, sealable mugs.
We want your pee. Give us your pee.
What the hell? You said at the end they said actually don't do this. Where was that? In the ad. I didn't see that.
You ready?
Yeah. Is it in the fine print?
The finest print, not at the end, in the middle. Here you go.
The suit wants us to tell you to please don't actually send your pee. Okay. So there's the fine print. I
You're
missed
in the middle
it.
while you're completely distracted
By all the piss.
The inordinate
piss
amount of
mugs.
stuff going on.
And like someone having their, Mr. Coffee pot and there's like pee in it. Also, none of these people are adequately hydrated. I'll say that. Am I the only one that noticed that these people are dehydrated? This is like the
Nobody
most
wants-
yellow pee.
In their defense, Liquid Death marketing is grade A, top tier, like second to Red Bull in my brain. It's hard to be showing pee as clear as it should be, hopefully.
Well, not clear. It doesn't have to be clear, but I think
you gotta prove a point with that potent.
What do you think was actually in those mugs? Garage Beer?
No, it'd be more bubbly. If I was a betting man, they just took a bunch of food coloring, like yellow food coloring,
Water.
and just put a bunch of water.
Someone in the chat said I didn't see any clear pee. People think it's apple juice. Piss.
Oh, that's a
Light.
good one. Apple juice would be, because there's not a ton of bubbles.
There's probably some Bud Light in there. They had some shitty beer despair that tastes like piss anyway. Anyway, this is a whole thing to basically get people to protest AI data centers. And they're supposed to protest the fact that AI data centers use water for cooling purposes. However, the amount they use, AI data centers, is site dependent. There's going to be some data centers that use more water than others, depending on size and what have you. But this water usage claim that data centers are using up tons of water and it's ruining the water and it's rendering it undrinkable is being blown out of proportion. Data centers account for approximately 0.2% of fresh water in the US. Farming and golf courses and a ton of other industries use up way more water than data centers. And you know I'm never going to come for either of those industries, the farming or the golfing industry. They're safe. They're marked safe from me. Farming is the backbone of this country. So is golf.
Yeah, I was wondering where that was going to go.
So I'm never going to come for the golf, but I understand that it takes a lot of water and whatnot. So there are issues to go after before you would ever go after the AI data centers. And again, you all know how I feel about AI. I'm not super thrilled about it, but it is the cat's out of the bag, if you will. So how do we move forward and not kill our planet? But this has become sort of the new thing to get all up in arms about AI data centers and water. The public has become convinced that every AI meme or video that's shared is going to leave us without water. And because there's so much fear-mongering about this, these two companies, Garage Beer and Liquid Death, are preying on that to sell their products. As dumb as it may be to urge people to drink water and beer to go make yourself pee so you could troll data centers, these marketing teams have identified something that the public is very passionate about. They're giving them a call to action. They're showing consumers, we see you. We have the same environmental concerns as you. A water company is obviously on board with protecting water and conserving water, drinking water. And they all kind of get to virtue signal about the environment. And this probably appeals to the no-job professional protesters. They're thinking, damn, I don't know. I haven't heard of a no kings thing in a while. Let me go piss in a cup and go send it to my local data center. I don't even know where my closest data center is to me. Do you know where they are in Florida? I have no idea. I haven't heard of any.
No, the one that's getting a lot of attention now is the Lion Country Safari location out towards Wellington. There's like some debates. Somebody bought it, and then they were going to turn the land into a data center because it's like a undeveloped land. That's the only one I've kind of heard about. It's a little out there, really far out west. For those of you who don't know, Florida has a very rural center.
Yes.
It's not all just beaches and alligators. But yeah, that's the only one I've really heard about. Oh, and the one in Miami, like near Miami Gardens, same deal. The closer to the swamps you get, that undeveloped land, people are snatching up to put some data centers out there.
People were all mad about Alligator Alcatraz, remember? Because they were saying, oh my gosh, it's going to ruin the Everglades. And it's like, this is an abandoned airstrip that was there anyway. So how is this really going to make that much of a difference? People just like to complain, basically.
It is crazy to me, especially if you fly frequently, how much undeveloped land there really is. Now, granted, you do want to protect some of that. I'm all for national parks and protecting and conserving.
Look, I've got my Make America Beautiful hat on from the
Exactly.
American Conservation Coalition.
But at the same time, there's so much undeveloped land.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, the cat's out of the bag. AI is here, whether you like it or not. We're not going backwards at this point, so we just have to move forward in a way that's going to not kill us all. But my point about this ad is that they did a very good job of basically coming up with a ad campaign idea that is going to get people talking, which of course it does. You've got a huge name with Jason Kelce. You've got people peeing in mugs. It's definitely an attention grabber. And it has this other call to action, which is funny, it's trolling, and it plays on, the cultural zeitgeist, which is exactly what this guy said. Andy Pearson, the vice president of creative at Liquid Death, said that they saw an opportunity to seize the cultural zeitgeist, lean into their shared irreverent humor, and said Garage Beer is a lot like us, an indie beverage brand that's trying to take on the big guys through humor. Humor at its core is based in a sharing a reality with another human being and laughing at a truth that's there. It's also one of the very few involuntary, visceral, physical reactions that you can elicit from someone. And when you can do that, you've really connected with someone deeply. So it's an interesting strategy, isn't it? Do you think people are going to do it?
You're going to get a couple crazy people. We were kind of talking about before. I love the Liquid Death marketing. They're always doing great. Like they did a Liquid Death casket. Like, yeah, somebody's going to buy it.
It's attention grabbing.
Yeah. Their VP.
Gimmicky, but
there's always a little bit of truth in a joke. So I can get behind it. I think their vice president of creative, he's kind of in my mind, a genius. He's always doing really cool stuff.
Hey, we're talking about it.
No doubt. I am sick of
Jason
Kelce. Oh my gosh, pick somebody different. But that's probably more personal preference than anything.
Yeah, he and his brother will do just about anything for a check. More so Travis. Travis will do just about anything for a check. Bud Light, Big Pharma, Pfizer. He's done a bunch of different things. He was the face of GQ. They did this whole sweep with him, this spread, and he was like America's sweetheart, they said, and they had him like swimming in the ocean with a cowboy hat on and a construction vest. Like totally one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. The Kelce brothers will do ridiculous things. If you have a ridiculous idea, you go to the Kelce brothers. One of them will do it.
Yeah, I can't. It's like I hate seeing them, but part of me respects the hustle a little bit. I mean, if somebody's offering me a ton of money, I don't know if I quite have the goal to say, no, I'm not doing that. like if somebody says, hey, do you want to go walk around the Masters? I know you know nothing about golf. I think I would say yes. And the only person that suffers is me, who doesn't want to see Jason Kelce at the Masters.
Right.
You know.
So there you go. Here's another interesting company strategy. Accenture CEO Julie Sweet told her employees not to take any PTO during the month of August so that the company could finish out a Q4 strong. They wanted to finish out strong. This is the headline. Accenture CEO Julie Sweet has a vacation request for employees. Staff can skip using leave in August and carry it forward for this reason. This is ridiculous. You sent me this. I feel like if you haven't worked a corporate job, you probably wouldn't understand how ridiculous this is. But as someone who has had to put in my PTO and I've gotten PTO denied, and this is just corporate slop.
You can roll it over because you're not going to be here Q1 once we lay everybody off.
Exactly. So if the companies don't use their vacation time in August as requested, and they still have some left over, they can roll it over to the new year. But when does this end, right? Because if they have the gall to ask people to not take vacation in August so that they can finish out Q4 strong, what happens when they're behind in Q1, 2, 3, and it's like you're not allowed to take vacation then either because you want to finish strong in all the other quarters?
I've seen a lot of memery around this, and it's always the rich guy sitting on the boat. Thanks for a great Q4. Let's run it back for Q1 so we can finish Q1 strong as well. And they're, living it up and not affected by this change at all.
I don't really buy into the nonsense that CEOs aren't working hard. I think they are. I mean, maybe there are some CEOs.
It's a different level of pressure.
Right, exactly. Are they in the office until midnight slaving away? Probably not, but they're working hard in other ways, like you said. So do we think that she's slaving away for this Q4 finish, or is it just everyone else beneath her? Like, is she not taking time off for the rest of the summer? I don't know.
I don't know a ton about the company. I would assume you do this.
I don't even know what Accenture is, to be totally honest with you.
I just was like, this is crazy.
Does anyone in the chat know? I'm going to look it up. Accenture.
Basically a formal slap on the wrist.
A what?
A formal slap on the wrist.
What does that mean?
It literally just means, hey, you're bad. We voted that you're bad.
The company, Accenture?
Well, that's what it is in the Senate.
For those of you who can't hear, Justin just walked through. He's giving us a definition of the word Accenture.
No, not Accenture. This is a company named Accenture.
Oh.
I was like, what? Justin walked by and he goes, Accenture is like when in Congress, it's a slap on the wrist. Yeah, we know that. I'm like, what is the company Accenture does? Someone said insurance.
I think it's insurance.
In the chat. Okay, I'll take your word for it because I really don't feel like looking it up. I'm going to be totally honest with you.
Take your PTO. This is a PSA to take your PTO.
You're
Don't
just
let
a
the
number.
corporate overlords rule your life.
If you're in a company with over 1,000 people, take your PTO. No one even, you're never rewarded for this. When you work a job like this and you're just a number, you're just a bottom line, just take your vacation day.
There's nothing wrong with being a number either.
There's nothing wrong with it. Actually, you should lean into that and take your vacation time.
Take your vacation day.
The thing is, a company can deny paid time off, but I think if the purpose of denying the paid time off is so that the company can make more money or hit certain targets, you have to be able to do that while also allowing your employees to take the time off that they deserve and are given. Yeah.
Weird ask. It's kind of like we're all family. Family doesn't let you take PTO then ?
And then it's also weird because I guess they don't have a rollover in place as it is. So there have to be exceptions to this rule. Like if you're getting married or you're going on your honeymoon in the month of August and then the CEO comes out and says, no August time off. It's like, what are you supposed to do? You know, party's booked, trip is booked. So This is just telling people, hey, if you don't take off any time in August, we'll reward you in this way.
Office morale has to be pretty bad.
It's got to be bad.
That this happened and somebody immediately went to the press and was saying, hey, this is what our company's doing.
100%.
Got to be some haters.
Oh, absolutely. Especially
this isn't their first offense.
People with one foot out the door are probably like, screw this place. You know, like when you're ready to leave a job, you're ready to burn the place to the ground. You know, it's just like, who cares?
There's something very genuine and kind of charming about everybody that's had a bad job that you've been really happy to leave. It builds character. And then you can really revel in how awful it was after.
I've never really experienced it to that level. I've never really hated any jobs that I've had.
Thankfully, been very blessed to have
I've hated certain parts of it.
Yeah.
I've hated micromanagement, things like that, but I've never really hated a job. I'm very lucky in that way. But have you ever worked somewhere, when you were at Orange Theory, did they have unlimited paid time off?
They were an unlimited PTO company.
And don't you think that that's reverse psychology? Like, don't you end up not really taking time off?
I have zero qualms. I had a great time. They were very reasonable.
No, that's what I mean. I think having unlimited paid time off, companies who do that, they end up having great morale because people know that it's there. They have this bank of time off that as long as you're getting your work done, it's a very mature way to come at the workplace. It's as long as you get your job done and you're not behind on anything, sure. It's sort of like this reverse psychology thing where people end up not taking the time off because they kind of respect their company and they want to work hard.
For sure. The office culture there was very because it was a fitness company. It was very work-life balance centric. Everybody was very respectful of that. So there was never really an issue with the unlimited. But yes, I do think a lot of companies put that as a reverse psychology. You can take as much as you want or don't. What do you think is a good amount of, Right.
And then it's like, well.
But thankfully, that wasn't an issue there.
You got to earn your keep. Don't be a bad employee and then, you'll be able to, they'll reward you with some time off. So anyway, this next story is crazy. Just roll the tape.
Black and blue bruises on a young girl paint an unsettling picture. But they don't tell the full story. If you ask one of the kids blamed for them.
I didn't think a dodgeball would hurt.
And they're the foam ones too.
So you can squeeze them and they compress and stuff.
13-year-old Abel Skipper says his ex-girlfriend is the victim in this case.
I wouldn't say we were on good terms, but I also wouldn't say we were on bad terms. She used to hit me a lot, and then she kind of just broke it off after that.
According to a Yavapai County Sheriff's Office police report, this all stems from a December 2025 PE class at Mayer High School. The 8th graders were warming up for a game of dodgeball when Abel says he and 2 of his friends threw foam balls at a girl in class.
We threw around the dodgeballs, and then I throw it at her. I hit her. One of the kids missed. The other kid also hit.
2 days later, the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office got a call from a Banner Health social worker who said 3 boys attacked a classmate. According to that tip, they relentlessly assaulted her with dodgeballs when she came out of the bathroom, and she was now in the hospital.
It is absolutely ridiculous. This is a game that every kid in the nation plays at some point in their life. They're considering the dodgeball a weapon, and that he knowingly or willingly, recklessly harmed this girl just playing dodgeball in PE.
Abel's mom, Cecily, is angry about how this was handled. A deputy interviewed all of the children involved, and all 3 boys said they had no intentions of hurting her. But Abel did admit, "I'm not going to lie, I did target her a little bit."
So, like, obviously, I'm gonna have to target somebody for dodgeball. It's dodgeball. You have to choose somebody, throw the ball, then try to get them out. I didn't want to hurt her at all.
Cecily tells me she heard nothing about the incident from school officials. Her son was never disciplined in any way at school. And she didn't even know a deputy talked to him at school until she got this letter from the Yavapai County Juvenile Justice Center about a misdemeanor assault charge months later.
It was a situation where, boys will be boys, then he deserves punishment for that. But I also think that, I don't agree with victim blaming, but I think my son is also getting injustice here when it comes to the court situation.
I don't mean to be insensitive, but I don't even know how this is possible.
This story is so all over the place.
First of all, I'm sorry that this girl was hospitalized, but first, you go to the hospital because you have a bruise? What are they going to do for a bruise? I could see maybe going to urgent care, but even then, what are they going to do? You just have to wait for it to go away.
The one that got me was, we were just playing dodgeball. Everybody plays dodgeball. They got her as she came out of the bathroom. Yeah, dog. I don't know if that
wasn't dodgeball. Right. So the story doesn't really line up. But if they were using foam dodgeballs, I really don't even... These kids got one hell of an arm. They're 13-year-old boys. How fast do you have to throw a foam dodgeball to leave a mark on someone?
I kind of throw like a girl, so I don't know if I'm an expert here.
People in the chat are saying grow a pair, snowflakes. Yeah, I don't really know. Again, I feel badly that she was targeted, but if she was targeted when she was coming out of the bathroom, that's not dodgeball. If you're playing dodgeball in the hallway, that's different than playing dodgeball in gym class. But even then, if this is a foam dodgeball, isn't this just like a act of bullying that can be handled? The fact that there are complaints and hospital visits and news articles, it's this is, I feel like, being blown out of proportion, if you ask me. This didn't need to go this far.
100%. This feels like a pretty easy disciplinary situation.
Keep them apart in school. If they're in gym class together, reprimand the boys for targeting a girl like this. It's not cool to do that. But at the same time, everyone needs to grow up a little bit, I think.
Yeah, this is doing numbers online. There's a lot of discourse.
I could also see, if your daughter comes home from gym class and she's got these massive welts on her, they're not even welts, bruises. I would wonder what's going on in gym class myself. If
I'd lose my mind.
I'm putting myself in the parents' shoes, I would say, what the hell is going on here? This isn't typical of dodgeball, which I could agree this is not typical dodgeball, but at the same time, life's rough. I don't know. I was bullied in middle school. It's I don't know, we all made it. I'm not a fan of bullying. I'm just saying, it makes you tough.
The story's just a mess. Boys shouldn't be bullying girls.
I love how he's interviewed for the news, and he's like, well, I did target her. It's dodgeball. You have to pick a target, and you have to throw a ball at them. I was like, well, he's got a point. He's got a point.
Hayley.
This is how the game is played. Is the game played outside of the gymnasium? No, it shouldn't be. But these are the rules. He was playing by the rules. So I just think this is... I don't really know how this can... I think this girl, God bless her, is deficient in something. To bruise from a foam dodgeball...
I don't know. You ever been...
I don't think that these kids are that strong.
By one of those, I don't even remember the brand, but they're
no,
the foam.
You know the kickballs that are red and they leave a mark, and it's that pang sound that it's not even like she was hit with one of those. It was
There's a lot of people in the chat talking about the red.
Yeah, the red rubber ball. Yeah, exactly. That ting sound that it makes. Yeah. Even if it was one of those bounce right off of you. What's the worst that's going to happen? You fall down and you get a bruise? I don't really understand this. I'm not trying to be insensitive to the girl. I'm sorry she went to the hospital, but she's deficient in something. She needs to take some vitamins.
In high school, PE, I feel like is off the table. Maybe it's not. I don't know.
I don't know. She could bruise doing just about anything.
I think the guys are in the wrong. That's my stance. I think the guys are in the wrong. I don't know what the repercussions for that are. That feels crazy that they did that. But nonetheless, it feels a little juvenile and blown out of proportion.
Totally. Moving on. We've got, there's a crazy plot twist in this story, the Penn State drug kingpin story, which we're going to get into. This guy went to the all-boys school, Chaminade on Long Island, and I went to the all-girl Catholic high school, Our Lady of Mercy Academy, also known as Only Lesbians May Apply. That was according to our critics and our haters. Anyway, he went to Chaminade. This doesn't really shock me so much. He went on to go to Penn State, and he's been essentially arrested for running a cocaine ring with him and some of his frat brothers or guys in other frats. They were essentially going into Philadelphia and New York City and spending tens of thousands of dollars on cocaine and bringing it back to campus. And his name is something crazy. I have to pull it up here. Agostino Abatello. Agostino Abatello is his name. And he essentially thought that this whole arrest was a prank when it happened. The court documents reveal that he thought that this was a total prank. He didn't think that this was real. It says, according to a criminal complaint, when Robinson was arrested, so Thomas Robinson was one of the guys, and Agostino Abatello was one of the other ones. When Robinson was arrested at his room at the Delta Upsilon fraternity, he said his fraternity brothers were playing a prank on him. The detective said Robinson repeatedly told officers, "I'm going to F you up," before he was then tasered and placed in handcuffs. He thought that this was just
A little bit hazing.
like a hazing. Like this wasn't a real cop, or they, were in on it, and it was like, hey, pretend to arrest our friend.
This guy's so confident
I'm going to F you up.
that he is dealing drugs. The police show up,
And he's like,
this isn't for me.
Yeah.
This is a joke.
This is funny. This is just like a funny game. I'm going to F you up before, and then he was tasered and placed in handcuffs. He was then escorted out of the home, which at that point he told officers he thought it was a prank. He's like, sorry about that when I was cursing at you and telling you that I was going to F you up. I thought that you were like a stripper cop, not like a real cop. So funny. Oh, man. Investigators found a 220-gram bag of marijuana, pill bottles, drug paraphernalia, a Kimber handgun inside a safe, and a magazine that contained 7 rounds of ammunition, among other things. So he was living the thug life a little bit.
This brings
Good for him.
a new definition to the Penn State whiteout game.
Apparently they were calling him Pablo Pledgeskabar. That was his little code name that they were calling him. I mean, he was the plug for all the campus parties. It is crazy to me that college kids do these hard drugs. It's like, I know kids, I'm not like naive. When I was in college, I knew kids did that, but I was just like, not into that. But
That's
it's
good.
wild that, well, yeah, I'm above that. I'm not above a glass of wine with some jalapenos in it, but that's about as crazy as I'll get.
The ring itself is so insane because it wasn't just him and a buddy. There's a whole
13 of them are going down. So this is like a bunch of
I
frat
heard
boys.
racketeering might even be like that's a huge deal.
Bunch of guys, yeah. Grand jury report details numerous buys, including one where Thomas Robinson purchased 500 grams of cocaine from Abatello, who was a member of another frat, for $18,000, and 1,000 grams of cocaine for $22,000. They surrendered to authorities this week. They were arraigned on several felonies, including multiple counts of possession with the intent to deliver and conspiracy. So I think their time at Penn State is coming to a short end, I would say. Their parents are probably very proud. And I'm sure Chaminade High School, I'm sure they're very proud.
I love that dig. That's, still a little beef there, it seems.
Well, no, it's not beef with Chaminade. It's just like, this is a good Catholic school. I'm sure his parents spent a lot of money to get him a good education. And then he goes,
that's a mess for sure.
He goes off to college and does something like this. It's like, this is brutal. So anyway, I don't think I want to do the Disney adults. I'm not really I'm going to move past the Disney adult story. We're going to go into ChatGPT. There is this crazy story, and we've covered this before, where people use ChatGPT to plan crimes. They plan to even break up with their girlfriends. I mean, people are using ChatGPT as this sounding board that they think is just going out into the ether. It's just some bot, and there's no humans behind it or what have you. But in this case, an ex-financial analyst has been sentenced to probation after telling ChatGPT about plans to rape and kill his ex. So, this is a 25-year-old man. He was working at Goldman Sachs in West Palm Beach, so this is local to us. He was arrested in May after ChatGPT told the FBI about these messages that he'd been sending the chatbot over the past few months. They apparently broke up with each other in March. He was dating a 21-year-old girl. They dated for only 6 months. Sometimes it's those short situationships that just send you into a spiral. Like sometimes getting over the shorter relationships are harder than a long relationship. When you're in a long relationship, sometimes you feel like you've broken up before. Like I've been in that situation. I dated someone for like 3.5 years and I was like checked out. So then we broke up and I was kind of just like, whatever. I was sort of got over it during the relationship. Sometimes I wouldn't go as far as to go to ChatGPT and plan to harm anybody, but this is what this guy did over a 6-monther. Anyway, from March to May, he was going back and forth with the chatbot and confessing to ChatGPT about how he wanted to kill her. He said, "I'm going to kill her by the end of this month," end quote. He also said, "If she doesn't give me a second chance, I'll rape and kill her and then myself." And then several of these messages included specific plans about how he would do this, knowledge of her routine, where she was at certain times of the day. He had a message that he was going back and forth with a whole plan with ChatGPT drawn up to park next to her car. He would give her flowers, and then if she said no, he would take out a gun, kill her, and shoot himself. That's according to the affidavit. He also repeatedly texted and threatened the woman from burner phones. And then he would say, "I'm going to rape you tonight when you're out with your friends," among other creepy text messages. And finally, he would send the chatbot photos of an AR-15, zip ties, and latex gloves. And the girlfriend said that she had not reported this to law enforcement because she was so scared. I do feel badly for her, but girl, you got to call the police. When your ex is telling you that he's going to kill you and rape you, you got to call the police.
That's what they're for.
That's what they're there for. So obviously you could tell this girl still cared about him, and this is why she was probably hoping that he was just bluffing and not actually going to do these things. But again, you got to always be safe and protect yourself because these people are crazy. So back in May, this 25-year-old Goldman Sachs analyst, ex-analyst, he doesn't work there anymore. I would imagine Goldman Sachs. This is another situation where these companies are probably like, who the hell did we hire? He was originally charged with written or electronic threats to kill or do bodily harm, aggravated stalking, and using a two-way communications device to commit a felony. Of course, he lost his job. And then last week, they made a plea deal with prosecutors. All he has to do is be on probation for 8 years. The first 2 years, he has to wear an ankle monitor. That's it. You could just plan to kill your girlfriend and rape her on ChatGPT, and you just wear an ankle monitor, I guess. I would not feel safe knowing that this person, I know he's got an ankle monitor on and he's on probation, but this is obviously someone who's insane.
Yeah, feels like you could have to serve a little bit of time.
You would think. I feel like making a plea deal with something like this, that's just like very scary to know that people are out here and they're in our area. As a single woman, I'm a little nervous, okay? This is scary.
Yeah, that's good on ChatGPT, though, because I know we've covered stories in the past where it hasn't quite made it to the FBI. People using ChatGPT for nefarious reasons.
Totally. We'll do one more story here. So this is an NBC Palm Springs reporter. She was covering a story on flock cameras, and we've covered this flock debate on this show before. In the beginning, I was sort of like, whatever, we're being tracked all the time, but I don't think we should just sort of like let this happen either. This is pretty invasive if you ask me. And the company is taking a very interesting approach to all these questions that people have, even members of the media have, about their whereabouts and about their plans and about, all of the news stories, the negative news stories that are coming out about Flock. They seem to be taking this sort of a Gen Z millennial approach, if you will. So as a good journalist does, this girl reached out to the company for comment, and this is what they replied with. Watch.
Thanks for reaching out to Flock. Our media team is currently touching grass and taking a break. Unlike our cameras, we can't work 24/7, so we'll get back to you when we've had a snack and regain the ability to form coherent sentences. Hi, I'm Maria Noble Valdez with NBC Palm Springs, and what you saw there was a real-time response from Flock's media team that I got when I reached out to them requesting an interview regarding new security changes.
It was predictive policing,
Anyway.
which was an algorithm that was.
I hate that response. I absolutely hate. I get that it's an automated response and they're trying to be snarky. I hate this. I don't think there's any place for this snarky, stupid millennial BS. I really don't. I did not get a good feeling when I read that. I can take a joke, but I think when your company is essentially the center of controversy and people are wondering why the hell cops are using this footage that's being stored for 30 days to stalk people. Female and male cops, by the way, are stalking their exes and their spouses and whatever. You should take a serious approach to the questions that the media and the public have. And I thought that was, this isn't like the automated response for your local restaurant and they're being snarky. This is like, Flock is a huge deal. Again, like I said, they're in the middle of this controversy. When the media reaches out and you're like, sorry, we can't come to the phone right now. We're eating a snack. It's so stupid. So stupid. Someone in the chat said very tone deaf indeed. Someone else said this is flocking BS. It needs to be removed. People are saying this is not cute. Agreed. I agree with all of you. I think, someone, Tyrant Mayor in the chat said fire any cop that uses it for personal gain. That is happening, by the way. These cops that are using Flock cameras for their own personal gain are being handled. But again, how many have not been caught yet, right? Maybe they're getting caught now, and then the other cops that are using this for their own personal gain are like, I should probably stop doing this. Who knows if they'll get caught? Who knows if people will think, it'll never be me. I'll never get caught. I'll keep doing it. I've talked to law enforcement about this and asked about this, and they say that Flock is great and it's a crime-fighting tool, and I can understand that. I'm pro-law enforcement, but I'm also against a surveillance state. And, people will always point out the obvious that we live in a surveillance state, and we all agreed to have these phones on us all the time. The difference is people didn't really agree to have these Flock cameras put up all over their towns. And I can understand that to have this database of license plates could be useful for cops if they're trying to fight crime, which I hope that that's what they're using them for. But for us, how does that help us? I don't think so. So someone, Juice McGorn in the chat said, nope, no way. It's definitely a bad thing. Someone else said, we are not the UK. And here's the thing. If it starts off as a crime-fighting tool and it stays that way, great. We're already seeing how this kind of technology can be abused. So if it's already being abused, what happens next? We've talked about these being put up around kids' playgrounds. Could that be used for good? Sure. Could it be used for bad? Sure. We've seen these be put up by gun ranges. Can that be used for good? I guess, And we've said that conservatives are concerned about tracking because, like in the UK, people can't say what they want to say anymore. They don't have freedom of speech. We can see how this kind of technology can devolve and not move us forward, but kind of take us back in a way. And I kind of thought that this was sort of a right-wing thing. Like, we were concerned about the gun ranges and Flock cameras being pointed at certain things, but there is bipartisan Flock hatred, and this guy says that even he is concerned about the future of this surveillance state. Watch. It says, me in 2031, and the year keeps going down. When the Flock camera genuinely catches me liking a pro-Mamdani reel in public, so my credit score drops by 30 points and I get put on an ICE watch list. And the year keeps going down to 2028 and 2027. So joking that this is happening now. For all the jokes about what could happen with Flock in the future, I think it might be these negative reactions is probably closer than we think, which I think is funny. But, I haven't really thought about the Mamdani, because we live in this world that is sort of catered towards the left. The left owns everything. They own academia, they own the media, they own Hollywood, they own culture, right? And to think that even liberals are concerned about their own viewpoints making them a target of this company is funny. We're kind of all in this together, if you will. I didn't really ever think about it from that way, but, he thinks maybe in some world he could be targeted for being a fan of New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, which is, it's true. It can be used both ways. If the technology can be used for good, it can be used for bad. It can be used for bad against conservatives, liberals, all alike. Americans, regardless of where you stand politically, should be against this kind of surveillance state.
All fun and games till it affects you, and then it's the worst.
Exactly. Thank you for scrolling along with me today. I'm going to give you a super scroll tomorrow because I've got some content that I didn't get to today. So I'm excited for that. We're going to have a fun show for you. Maybe we'll get into the Disney adult of it all. And I'll watch those videos and we'll get into that. I think that's funny because I don't like Disney adults. But anyway, thank you for following along. You can follow me on social media at Hayley Carania. Of course, a reminder to subscribe to this channel because you can watch Vince at 8, myself right here at noon, which if you're already watching, you already know that. And stay tuned for Sean Farish Live, which starts right now. Thanks for being here. I'll see you tomorrow.